The Grand Hall of the Galactic Senate was a place that could make even the bravest leaders nervous. The ceiling stretched so high it seemed to vanish into the stars beyond. Strange glowing banners hung from every corner, each showing the colors and emblems of powerful worlds. At the center, under a bright white light, stood representatives from dozens of alien species, and, for the first time in history, humans were among them. Captain Marcus Hale stood straight, his dark blue Earth Alliance, uniform crisp and perfect. Years in the military had trained him to keep his face calm even when his heart was racing. Around him, alien eyes of all shapes and sizes studied him, some curious, some amused, and some clearly unimpressed. The conference was meant to be a celebration of peace. The Galactic Empire, the most powerful government in known space, had officially recognized Earth as a new member of the galaxy's political stage. But as Marcus quickly noticed, peace did not mean respect. A tall alien with smooth, silver skin and eyes like molten gold stepped forward. He wore armor that shimmered faintly with energy, and at his side hung a sleek weapon that hummed softly. This was General Vorkath, leader of the Empire's military forces. "Welcome, people of Earth," Vorkath said in a voice that echoed across the chamber. "We admire your courage for joining the galaxy despite your limited means." His smile was not friendly. Marcus kept silent. He knew what was coming. To impress, or perhaps intimidate, the newcomers, the Empire had arranged a weapon demonstration. Engineers brought forward a small floating platform. On it rested several alien guns, each one glowing faintly, some shaped like long lances, others like compact cannons. Vorkath picked up one of the weapons and aimed it at a steel plate on the far wall. A single press of the trigger released a beam of bright blue energy. The steel plate melted instantly, a hole forming where the beam struck. The aliens around the chamber nodded, clearly pleased. Then came the heavier weapon, a plasma cannon, the size of a small table. When fired, it vaporized a thick slab of reinforced metal in less than a second. The smell of burnt air filled the room. Finally, one of the alien officers gestured toward the humans. "And now, let us see the finest of Earth's armaments." Marcus stepped forward, holding the weapon he had brought from Earth. It was long, with a dark matte finish, no glowing lights, no strange hums, a simple human sniper rifle. The aliens stared at it. Some whispered to each other, and a few laughed openly. To them, it looked like something out of a museum. "This," one alien officer said with a grin, "is what you used to fight? A stick that throws tiny pieces of metal?" The room filled with laughter. Marcus placed the rifle on the stand and said nothing. Instead, he loaded a single round, checked the scope, and took aim at a target much farther away than the aliens had used for their test. A single sharp crack echoed through the hall. The bullet struck the center of the target with perfect accuracy, leaving a small, clean hole. No fire, no light, just precision. "Impressive aim," Vorkath said, "but useless against modern armor. Your bullets cannot pierce energy shields. In a real war, they are toys." Marcus locked eyes with the general. He could have argued. He could have explained that Earth weapons were designed with different strategies, that in human hands, even simple tools could become deadly. But instead, he only gave a small smile and stepped back. The meeting continued, but the message was clear. The Empire saw Earth as weak. They believed their shields and advanced energy weapons made them untouchable. Marcus knew this attitude could be dangerous. When the conference ended, Marcus walked out with the other human delegates. His fellow officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, fell in step beside him. "They think we're harmless," she said quietly. "Good," Marcus replied. "Let them think that. It's better than them taking us seriously too soon." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "You have a plan?" Marcus glanced over his shoulder, making sure no alien ears were too close. "Let's just say I've never met a shield that can stop a bullet if you put it in the right place. Outside the Senate Hall, alien starships drifted through the blackness, each one armed with weapons that could destroy a city in seconds. And yet, as Marcus looked up at them, he felt no fear. Instead, he felt a challenge, and deep down, a quiet confidence. The Galactic Empire might laugh at human weapons now, but he knew the day would come when they wouldn't be laughing anymore. 2 weeks after the peace conference, reports arrived from the asteroid belt. A remote mining colony, rich in rare minerals, had been attacked by the Galactic Empire's soldiers. The Empire claimed the asteroids as their territory, even though Earth had already signed an agreement to mine them. The Earth Alliance sent a small defense fleet, but compared to the Empire's massive warships, it was a fragile force. Still, they had no choice. If they surrendered the asteroids without a fight, Earth would lose respect forever. Captain Marcus Hale stood in the command center of the troop transport Resolute, watching a holographic display of the battle zone. Blue dots marked human ships. Red dots, far more of them, marked the enemy. "Shields up," Commander Briggs ordered. "All ships, prepare to engage." Marcus wasn't part of the bridge crew today. His mission was different. He and his small unit were being sent to the surface of asteroid X-17 to defend the mining site. If the Empire took the mines, they would cut off Earth's access to vital resources. The Resolute entered the asteroid's thin atmosphere. The ship shook as enemy fire rained down from above. Plasma bolts flashed past the windows like streaks of lightning. "Touchdown in 2 minutes," the pilot called out. Marcus checked his sniper rifle, sliding a fresh magazine into place. Around him, his team prepared their weapons, standard rifles, grenades, and a few heavy machine guns. Against energy weapons, they felt primitive, but they were all they had. The ship landed hard, the ramp dropping to the rocky surface. The air was thin, cold, and dusty. Marcus led his team toward a ridge overlooking the mining camp. Alien troops were already there, marching in perfect formation, their armor glowing faintly as their energy shields activated. "Positions," Marcus ordered. The humans opened fire first. Bullets tore through the dust-filled air, but most bounced harmlessly off the alien shields. The aliens returned fire, their plasma bolts smashing into rocks and metal, sending chunks flying. Marcus didn't waste a shot. He lay flat on the ridge, his scope sweeping across the battlefield. He found an alien officer giving orders near the front. The officer's shield shimmered brightly. Marcus adjusted his aim. He remembered what he'd learned during his years. As a marksman, shields were strongest in the center, but often weaker where they curved around the body. The neck area, just under the helmet, looked vulnerable. He took a breath, held it, and squeezed the trigger. The shot cracked through the air. A heartbeat later, the alien officer fell without a sound, his shield flickering and dying. Confusion spread among the alien troops. They had never seen a projectile go straight through a shield. "Nice shot," Sarah's voice came through the comms. Marcus didn't respond. He was already lining up the next one. Another officer fell, then another. The human troops noticed the shift. They pushed forward, taking cover behind mining equipment and storage crates. Without their officers, the alien lines began to break. But the Empire wasn't finished. A deep rumble shook the ground. Over the ridge came 2 massive alien walkers, machines with legs like towers, each armed with heavy plasma cannons. The first shot destroyed half of the human cover in a burst of light. "We can't stop those things," a soldier shouted. "Yes, we can," Marcus said calmly. He aimed for the joints, thick armor plates but still physical parts that could be damaged. The first bullet struck a knee joint. Sparks flew, and the walker staggered. He fired again and again, each time hitting a weak spot the aliens had never considered protecting from simple bullets. The first walker collapsed sideways, its leg shattered. The second turned toward Marcus's position, plasma cannons glowing. As they charged, Marcus rolled away just in time, the shot scorching the rock where he had been lying. "Move!" Sarah yelled, dragging him behind cover. The humans concentrated their fire on the second walker while Marcus aimed for its cockpit. The bullet punched through and the machine went still. Silence fell for a moment. Then the remaining alien troops began retreating, carrying their wounded. The humans had held the mining site. From orbit, the Empire's commanders were in shock. Reports came in about a human weapon that pierced shields, something they had believed impossible. The news spread quickly through the fleet. Back at the ridge, Marcus reloaded his rifle. "They won't underestimate us next time," he said quietly. Sarah nodded. "Good. Let them be afraid." Above them, the battle in space still raged, but the humans had won their first ground victory. It wasn't much in the grand scale of the war, but it was enough to prove one thing. Earth was not as helpless as the Empire believed, and for Marcus, it was only the beginning. The victory on asteroid X-17 was small compared to the scale of the war, but its effect was huge. Word of a human rifle that could pierce shields spread across the Empire's ranks. Some called it a myth. Others feared it was a secret superweapon, or Marcus Hale, it was just a tool. But a tool in the right hands could change everything. 3 days later, Marcus and his squad were called to a secure meeting aboard the Resolute. Commander Briggs was waiting for them in the war room, a holographic map of a distant moon floating above the table. "This is Moon Delta 5, Briggs said. "It's a key supply base for our fleet. The Empire knows it. Our intel says they plan to strike here within the next 48 hours. Marcus studied the map. The moon's surface was covered with canyons and rocky plateaus. Perfect for hiding and for sniping. "What's our role?" Marcus asked. "You're going down there ahead of time," Briggs said. "You'll use the terrain to your advantage. Eliminate their commanders before they can organize the attack. If you succeed, we can hold the base." Marcus nodded. It was risky, but it played to his strengths. The squad landed on Delta 5 at night. The air was thin and cold, and the moon's pale light painted the rocks in silver. Marcus led them through winding canyons, looking for the best vantage points. They found one on the edge of a tall cliff overlooking the main approach to the base. From here, Marcus could see nearly a kilometer in every direction. They waited. Hours passed. The only sounds were the wind and the occasional static from the comms. Marcus lay prone, his rifle steady, eyes scanning through the scope. Patience was his greatest weapon. At dawn, movement appeared on the far ridge. Alien troops in shimmering armor moved in formation, their banners glowing faintly. Behind them marched taller figures, officers, their armor marked with golden patterns. Marcus's finger rested lightly on the trigger. He aimed for the first officer. The bullet struck true, and the alien dropped instantly. The troops froze in shock, their shields flickering. Marcus shifted his aim and fired again. Another officer fell. From their hidden positions, the rest of Marcus's squad opened fire. Bullets whistled through the cold air, finding gaps in armor and striking weapons from alien hands. The Empire soldiers tried to return fire, but they couldn't pinpoint where the attacks were coming from. The sound of the sniper rifle echoed off the canyon walls, making it seem like the shots came from everywhere. Within minutes, the attack slowed to chaos. Troops without orders hesitated, their formations breaking. The human defenders at the base took advantage, pushing forward with renewed energy. By mid-morning, the first wave was in retreat. But Marcus knew the Empire wouldn't give up so easily. He was right. Heavy gunships appeared in the sky, firing plasma blasts at the cliffs. The ground shook as the blasts exploded nearby, sending clouds of dust into the air. "Time to move!" Marcus ordered. They retreated deeper into the canyon network, using narrow paths to stay hidden. The aliens sent scout teams to hunt them, but Marcus's squad knew the terrain better now. One by one, the scouts disappeared. not from traps or mines, but from silent, precise shots in the shadows. Back at the base, Commander Briggs received the battle report. "Your work saved this position," he told Marcus over comms. "But the most interesting thing is the data our scientists gathered. Your rifle works because their shields are tuned for energy resistance, not physical projectiles. They can't adapt quickly without redesigning their whole system." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. "So, we have a window." "Exactly," Briggs replied. "We're mass-producing more weapons based on your rifle. Soon, every unit will have the means to fight them." As night fell on Delta 5, Marcus sat by the campfire with Sarah and the others. The stars stretched endlessly above them. "They'll come back," Sarah said, staring into the flames. "They will," Marcus agreed. "And they'll be angrier than before. But we'll be ready," she said. Marcus looked down at his rifle, the weapon the Empire had laughed at not long ago. Now it was the reason they had lost 2 battles in a row. The war was far from over, but something had changed. For the first time, the Empire knew what it felt like to be afraid. And Marcus planned to keep it that way. The victories on asteroid X-17 and moon Delta 5 had changed the war's balance. For the first time, the Galactic Empire had failed to crush a smaller opponent quickly, and for the first time, they feared a human weapon. But the Empire was not the kind to stay on the defensive. Marcus Hale learned about the new threat during a high-level briefing aboard the Resolute. Commander Briggs stood before a glowing map, his face set in grim lines. "The Empire has developed something new," Briggs said. "An anti-projectile defense system. They call it vector nets. It detects incoming physical rounds and destroys them mid-flight using microbursts of energy." Marcus crossed his arms. "So they finally adapted." "They also deployed hunter squads," Briggs continued. "Special forces trained to track and eliminate snipers. You are their prime target." Sarah let out a low whistle. "Looks like you're famous now, Captain." Marcus didn't smile. Fame in war usually meant you had a shorter life expectancy. The mission came 2 days later. The Empire's fleet was massing near the desert world of Kareth 4. Intelligence suggested they planned to launch an assault from orbit, using the planet as a staging ground. The Earth Alliance came up with a risky plan: lure the enemy's flagship into range of Marcus's rifle, positioned on Kareth 4's surface. If the flagship's command systems could be disabled, the rest of the fleet might retreat. Marcus and his squad landed on the planet in a small dropship just before dawn. Kareth 4 was nothing but endless dunes and jagged stone spires. The heat shimmered even in the early morning. "This place is wide open," Sarah said, scanning the horizon. "Hardly any cover." Marcus adjusted his scope. "We'll make the rocks work for us. Set up at high ground and stay low." Hours passed as the Earth fleet clashed with the Empire in orbit. From the planet's surface, the battle above looked like flashes of lightning across the sky. Then the target arrived, the massive Imperial flagship Vorkath's Pride, named after the general who had once laughed at human weapons. Marcus lay prone on a flat rock, the barrel of his rifle wrapped in desert cloth to hide the glare. Through the scope, he could see the flagship's hull, its surface bristling with weapon turrets. "Looking for the bridge," Marcus muttered. "They've armored it well." Finally, he found it, a cluster of observation windows near the front, protected by layers of shield plating. Too thick for one shot, unless he aimed for the sensor arrays controlling the shield modulation. He exhaled slowly and squeezed the trigger. The bullet streaked upward, but halfway through its path, a burst of blue light exploded around it. The vector net system had detected it. The shot never reached its target. "They've got the new defenses online," Sarah warned. Marcus adjusted his aim. He couldn't just shoot straight anymore. He had to fire from unpredictable angles, using the planet's gravity and wind to curve the shot. The second round hit a vector net burst, but the third slipped through. Sparks erupted on the flagship's hull as the shield control array flickered. "That's it," Marcus said. "One more." Before he could fire, plasma. Bolts slammed into the rocks nearby. The ground shook violently. Dust blinded him for a moment. "Hunter squads!" Sarah shouted. Figures in dark armor emerged from the dunes, moving fast, their weapons firing in controlled bursts. They were aiming not just at Marcus, but at the exact spots where a sniper would hide. Marcus and the squad returned fire, but the hunters were skilled. 2 humans went down before the rest could reposition. "They're trying to pin us," Sarah said, dragging Marcus behind cover. Marcus looked through the dust at the flagship. The shield control array was still exposed, but only for seconds at a time. He had to ignore the hunters for one moment. One dangerous, possibly fatal moment. "Cover me," Marcus said. Sarah didn't argue. She and the others unleashed a storm of bullets toward the hunters, forcing them to duck. Marcus rose just enough to see through his scope. The sensor array flashed back into view. He adjusted for wind, heat shimmer, and the slight curve of the planet's surface. His finger tightened on the trigger. The shot flew, twisting in the air, and struck home. The array exploded in, a shower of sparks. Up in orbit, the flagship's shields flickered, then dropped over the bridge section. The Earth fleet pounced, targeting the now vulnerable systems. Within minutes, the flagship began to withdraw, the rest of the Empire's fleet following. The hunters on the ground didn't give up easily, but with their fleet retreating, they were forced to fall back. The humans held their position, exhausted but alive. As Marcus sat in the cooling desert evening, he looked up at the sky where the battle had been. The Empire was learning, adapting, and getting more dangerous. But so was Earth. "This isn't over," Sarah said. Marcus nodded. "No, but they just learned again we can hit them anywhere." The war had dragged on for months, and neither side could claim a clear victory. The Galactic Empire, once confident in its power, now faced a human enemy who refused to be beaten. Captain Marcus Hale had become a symbol of that resistance. The man with the rifle who could pierce any shield. But Marcus did not want to be a symbol. He wanted peace. The Galactic Senate called a new meeting. This time it was to discuss a ceasefire and possible peace terms. Marcus stood again in the Great Hall, but the mood was very different from the first time. No more laughter, no more sneers. Instead, there was cautious respect. General Vorkath, the same alien who had mocked Earth's weapons months before, approached Marcus with a serious look. "I underestimated your people," Vorkath said quietly. "Your weapons, your courage. It is clear Earth has earned its place in the galaxy." Marcus nodded. "It was never about the weapons alone. It was about how we used them, with skill, patience, and heart." The general smiled, just a little. "Perhaps there is more to learn from humans than we thought." The peace talks moved. Quickly after that, Earth was granted mining rights on the disputed asteroids and given a seat on the Galactic Council, a place where all the galaxy's great powers could discuss their futures together. Marcus was proud, not just for himself, but for all of humanity. Back on Earth, the sniper rifle that had started it all was placed in a museum. It stood behind glass, shining under soft lights, a reminder of the day humans showed the galaxy what they were truly made of. In the quiet moments, Marcus often thought about the future. He hoped that one day, weapons like his would only be needed for defense and peacekeeping, not war. Sarah, now a trusted friend, often joked that Marcus was the reason the galaxy had learned to respect Earth. He laughed and shook his head. "It's not the weapon, it's the one who uses it." And that was the truth. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the museum windows, shining with the promise of new adventures and new challenges. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not because of technology alone, but because of spirit and determination. The Galactic Empire had laughed at human weapons. Then a sniper rifle changed everything.